Hi, Shabbat Shalom. Thank you very much. I think it was once Henry Kissinger who was introduced in such an over-flattering manner, and he said, only my parents were here, my father would have loved it, and my mother would even believe you. So thank you very much, and I'm really sorry it was such a short introduction, but here I am, and as mentioned about part of my past, I've been the Speaker of the Knesset, which by itself is a kind of an intellectual challenge. And they used to ask why the deliberations in the Knesset are so long. And the answer is because everything was already said, but not by everyone. So I'm simply going to repeat the introduction with a bit of a different vocabulary, with a bit more of a heavy Arnold Schwarzenegger accent. But rather than that, it will be more or less the same message. When I got first the invitation, I was shocked. I mean, festival, I understand, dangerous idea, that's very interesting. Okay, well, and then I decided to take you through the journey of my thoughts towards this meeting, which means the entire introduction is introduction. Let's begin with the history of dangerous ideas. I'd just like to offer you some of them. Take Abraham, our patriarch, okay? Did he have a dangerous idea to abandon his parents' idolatry and to move to monotheism? That's dangerous. I mean, imagine you gambled on the wrong one from the whole pantheon of gods you had. And the other will congregate against you. That might be very, very dangerous ideas. Forget about this. Imagine he is at the age of 70-something, which is an age in which people either retire or, if you are Donald Trump, you run for presidency, but very few. I mean, otherwise you retire, you have an institution of your own, maybe call it Abraham, our patriarch, the institution for monotheism or something like that. But at that age, which he is already retiring, he was ordered, lech lecha, I mean, keep walking. Move on. So he is the 75 years old avant-garde, and it was a fantastic avant-garde at the time because he was very avant, but there was no God behind him. And it was a very dangerous. And then he arrives to a place, and all of a sudden his friend, the divine, tells him, listen, I'm going to demolish Sodom and Gomorrah. That sounds very, very ferocious. And he turns to God and starts to negotiate with him like a good old-time Jewish peddler. Give me 50, give me 10, give me 40, give me this, give me that. And by the end of it, he turns around this angry God. And at the time, God was not as laid back as he is today, never intervenes. At the time, somebody made him angry. He kicked him out of the Garden of Eden. Somebody else made him unhappy. Imagine, immediately flooded the world with the Mabul, with the flood, or Sodom and Gomorrah. I mean, that was not a calm God the way we know him today. And he turns to him and says, fight from you. I mean, shall the judge of all earth do not do what is just? Chalila lecha, hashofet kol haaretz lo ya'aseh mishpat. Which means Abraham, the founder of monotheism, had a very dangerous conceiving idea that it is possible that the good Lord might do something which is unjust. That's a very dangerous idea, which is at the seed of our civilization. Let's move on. Moses. Remember Moses? Another one who began a political career 10 years later than Abraham, okay? At the age of 80, he took over. He was not a speaker at the time, and the speech of the king is something to describe his inability to be eloquent at the time. And he had a very dangerous idea. At his old age, he comes to Pharaoh, not the nicest of the rulers of the time, and he tells him, let my people go. Let's put an end. It's a very dangerous idea. Let's put an end to 400 years of slavery. I'm here about liberty. Can you imagine liberty today? I mean, we have, to defend democracy. At the time, he did not have to defend liberty, he had to introduce liberty. That was not a very pleasant idea at the time, yet this call, battle cry of let my people go, echoes up until today. It was a dangerous idea, and it was years, ages, millennia before Spartacus led the rebellion of the slaves at the Greek and the Roman and the European, to become European civilization. And then not only that, they went to Sinai, and he brought down, which what do we say today, downloaded, okay? This is the modern theological terminology. He downloaded an alternative constitution to the tyranny of Egypt, the Ten Commandments, which when you read it thoroughly, this is not the teaching of today, but if you read it thoroughly, you do not find there any mentioning of temple, of priests, of sacrifices, of Holy Land, of Promised Land, of kingdoms. Oh no, it's a counter-constitution to the Egyptian one, which is quite a dangerous idea at the time, because this was the superpower, and he was leading a bunch of just escaped slaves. You heard the name Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai. That's another one from our mythology. He was, how shall we call him, the chief rabbi of Jerusalem. Maybe he was one of the sages of Jerusalem of the year 70. This is the year of the destruction. Imagine the city, unlike the city of today, it was a city led by extremists, okay? Jerusalem of today is a much more tranquil reality, but at the time, for whatever reasons, extremists celebrated in the streets. Killing each other, stabbing each other. It was a very, very beautiful city of peace, okay? Yerushalayim, peace, city of Shalom, okay? And he was the spiritual leader of the opposition at the time. And he saw where it goes. He knew immediately that it leads to the destruction of the political entity of the time, of the Second Temple. He escaped the city, which by itself is a very interesting story how he did it, and he goes and faces the Roman general, officer, sieging the city. They have this kind of an exchange. It never happened, but mythologically, it's a molding experience in the Neo-Judaism that he invented. And this Aspasianus tells him, what should I give you in return for the good message you gave me that I'm going to be the Caesar of the empire? He doesn't ask for the Temple Mount. He doesn't ask for Jerusalem. He doesn't ask for the leftovers or the little leftovers of the very partial, fragmented sovereignty still left at the year 70. He asked him one thing, which is a very, very dangerous idea. He asked him, Ten li Yavne v'chachameha. Give me Yavne and its sages. Yavne is a shmate of a place today. Imagine what was it, 2,000 years ago. Ekwe Welt, a place, nobody knows where is it. And he asked him, give me a think tank. Give me a place in which I can alternate Judaism from a temple-centered, city-centered, territorial-centered into an intellectual journey. What an idea. Oof. And saved Judaism of the time, saved our civilization. Spinoza, did he have dangerous ideas? He really, really liberated religion from God. Herzl, a couple of years ago, had an amazing, impossible, dangerous idea. After 2,000 years of exilic experience and exilic mentality, let the Jews have a state. It was dangerous according to the outcome. I'm not at all sure it was not too dangerous, but nonetheless, at the time, as a tiny minority among all the other Jewish streams and notions and ideologies and philosophies and approaches and schools of thoughts, it was a very, very provocative counter the mainstream idea. Menachem Begin and Anwar Sadat, 78, had an impossible, dangerous idea. Let's consider the syntax of peace over the grammar of war. Rabin and Arafat, had a very dangerous idea. By the way, Benjamin Netanyahu has many, many dangerous ideas. The problem is they're all dangerous. So what is in common to all of these dangerous ideas, and I can give you a list of many more, but the weekend is unfortunately short and we started a bit late, so I don't have the time for the entire list. But nonetheless, what is in common for all of this? That these are the people or movements or individuals or ideas that look at the contemporary reality of their time and saw the real dangerous and offered an alternative. None of them wanted to rearrange the seats on the deck of their Titanic. None of them was about realignment the current. They wanted to offer a brand new operating system. This is why it was so difficult and so dangerous at the time, because in front of them, there were other dangerous ideas pushing back and countering them and refusing to accept their alternatives. It was the ideas of those who are always, up until a point, always the majority. Those who oppose and refuse and reject the reality as is and sanctify it as if that's the only possible way to move onwards. Refusing to depart, to move, to check, to reconsider the uncomfortable comfort zone they are living in. We call it in American English the devil we know. And people sanctify the devil. So the blindness or the real threats, the real dangerous idea or ideas are actually two. The first is the voluntarily blindness that people prefer not to see rather than to see. And the second is silencing the alternatives. So where are we now? The reality, there are many still living, I take it here in all of the bodies who refuse to, that were mentioned in the introduction, who refuse to accept what we're doing here. Many of them are still living in the dreamland or the la-la land that Israel is a 48 kind of whatever it is, a utopia, that we have the palmach and the kibbutzim and oranges and I don't know what. As if nothing changed. The entire world moves on. Our personal life moves on. Our technology is not where it used to be. But Israel is 48 forever. Okay. There are those. But the reality is as such that all over the place, but in their own inner quarters, the faked or alleged utopia, everybody discussed the discussion of Israel is a performer of crimes against humanity. This is the reality that you cannot ignore, because some people within the Jewish people, like myself, and many people outside of the Jewish people, really think that what Israel is doing is wrong. Should we face this reality or simply say it does not exist? We don't see it, so it does not exist. So at least we have a room here, and a room in Cape Town, and many rooms around the world of people who open their eyes and like to address this reality and offer an alternative. When I was in the yeshiva, they used to say, here is Sunday morning, all the kids in the yeshiva coming back from the weekend, and the rabbi calls his most beloved, devoted, brilliant student, the yeshiva boy, and in front of the 400 students of the yeshiva boy, he slaps him on the face and says, Rabbi, what is it? What did I do wrong? He said, it is rumored that you were seen in Friday night without a kippah, smoking a cigarette in front of a pornographic movie hall. He said, Rabbi, it's not true. He gives him another one. He says, why this one? He said, you also want it to be true? So I say, whether we commit crimes against humanity, we do not commit crimes against humanity. You also want it to be true. It's awful that we are being addressed this way in order to understand how far did we go with our activities, which we do not have even the basic sense of accountability to our deeds. And more than that, is it a genocide? Is it not a genocide? And 100,000 victims that 50, 60, 70% of them are innocent people. Okay, it is not genocide. Now it's kosher? The answer is no. So I do not care a bit about the legality of the definition, and I'm so profoundly troubled by the reality and the facts on the ground that I and my country and my people and my friends and my associates are performing daily. And then you ask yourself, but we had October 7th. We had October 7th. So it justifies it all, so to say. And I say no. Let's be very accurate, and for a minute, let's split a hair. Just one. Whatever left, okay? Let's split it. Whatever Israel did to the Palestinians in 100 years of conflict, whatever wrongs we did, does not justify the first move of the Hamas atrocities on October 7th. And whatever the Hamas criminals committed, performed, and exercised to Israelis in October 7th does not justify the crimes that Israel generates ever since. It is two criminal sets, do not balance each other, do not annihilate each other, do not justify each other. And we have to address them both. These are bad and these are wrong, and these are bad and these are wrong, and let's address them both, not using one as an excuse for another. You do not correct a wrong with a wrong. Having said that, you ask yourself, how did we get here? How did we get here? Maybe it's possible to build a new library with explanations, how did we get here? About what happened, what wrong turns did we take, etc. I'd like to put one only here for the sake of our discussion. 48, in which Israel was established and created, did not create a perfect reality. It was not a utopia. It was a miracle in a way for our people. It was a tragedy for the Palestinians. It was a new reality that had many, many problems, but had the potential to correct them all. The potential was there in 48. 19 years later, in 67, all gates of hell were opened. And ever since 67, land is holier than the sanctity of life for Israeli Jews. Occupied territories and whatever happens in the wild east of Israel is much more important and superior than the formal sovereignty of the Israeli government. The eradication of the Green Line, so much money and efforts invested in order to erase the Green Line, means also that whatever happens over there in the occupied territories trickles back and filters in the Israeli society, and the norms of the normative Israel are not normative anymore. It's about violence. It's about the discourse. It's about respect. It's about sanctity of life. It's about equality. It's about civil rights and human rights and basic rights and birthrights. All of them. If you do not respect them for the occupied Palestinians, eventually you use them against your internal rivalries within the Israeli society. And this is why it is such a fragmented society. And actually, when you look at the reality today, you can say today in Israel, and not only there because it's here as well, it's all over the place, there is a struggle between two ideas. And maybe this is the deep roots of what the people are about to decide in the coming elections in coming October. And this is between two sets of ideas, which one is more dangerous? The fusion between ultranationalism and religious fundamentalism, or openness and integration and liberties. These are the two sets of ideas, and each side sees the other one as a dangerous idea. And the question is, what the people will decide and what policies will come out of it is actually the question of the coming elections and also the question of this deliberation of this afternoon. So what is the dangerous idea that we congregated today to celebrate? It's a festival, so we came for a fest, okay? What is it? The first is the will, which is really, I understand, I realize, I apologize, the will to want something which is really not normal. I know it's beyond normalcy, the will to be normal. For a Jew to imagine that I want to be normal is a little bit crazy. And yes, the idea, the dangerous idea that people like myself in Israel and like you over here and like many of us all over the world want to offer is stop the lunacy. Don't sanctify the abnormal. Accept normalcy as a potential way of life. More than that is to believe that our hope is much more meaningful, powerful, and potential for solutions than all the set of despairs that you offer us daily and manufacture hourly. Our hope versus the despairs. The third is to understand that the world is not and should not be automatically divided into automatic collectives. All the Jews versus all the Arabs, all the Palestinians, all the Goyim, all, somebody else out there. No, that's not the case. The case is some of us, Israeli Jews, and some of them Palestinians, who believe in justice, equality, universality of law, peace, and hard work to achieve it, we are together in the same camp. And against some of them and some of us who believe in religious fanaticism, worship the gods of death, really ready to kill unlimitedly on behalf of the love of God, their God, and will never be ready to trust anybody. From my point of view, philosophically, intellectually speaking, there is no difference between the Torah of Smotrich and Ben-Gvir and the Torah of Yehiel Sinwar. The same murderous religion, faith, and fanaticism that lead to the almost extinction of two nations. So some of my enemies are from within, some of my enemies are from the outside, some of my partners are outside, some of my partners are within, and these are the real partition lines between those who believe in these ideas and those who fight them, whether inside or outside. And the last but not least, and this is maybe the foundation of the most dangerous ideas that we stand for. We say, are you for two-state solution, one-state solution? What are you for? I, years ago, stopped counting states. I don't care how many states will there be. 1, 2, 5, federation, confederation, canton, Switzerland model on the Middle East, you name it. I go for one principle only. Between the Jordan River and the Mediterranean, every individual and therefore every collective has the right for the same rights. That's it. How many political structures you will build upon this foundation? That's a practical solution. 1 state, 2 states, 5 states, I don't care. But the principle respecting the principal idea that every individual was created in the same image of the Creator. And therefore we are all equal. And therefore we all deserve the same rights. That's the founding principle. This is what threatens them so much. This is what they are afraid so much of. So this is what we came to celebrate today. And then comes the question, what are you? I mean, you see the reality. You see how few are we and how many are they? How come you don't give up? Are you an optimist or a pessimist? We used to ask my mom, Mama, what are you? What are you? Are you optimist or pessimist? Now, you don't know her, but she had lousy, awful life. I mean, every tragedy possible of the 20th century for Jews, she had some. Okay, she invested in all of them. She said, me? Of course I'm an optimist. Today is much better than tomorrow. And she had this kind of optimism. However, I have a different kind of optimism, okay? First, I would like to introduce to you the notion of optimism of the Churban, the optimism of the destruction. We're going to commemorate Tisha B'Av, the 9th day of Av, in this coming week. And this is the day in which, at the year 70, remember we spoke about it when we spoke about Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai, the second temple was demolished, destroyed, nechrav. Oh, when you live during a period of destruction and demolition, and it's hard, it's not nice. And at real time, you mourn, you suffer, it's torturous. But long term, when you look at all the destructions and downs and downsides of the Jewish people, each and every destruction gave birth to a better Jewish civilization. Each and every one of them, since day one. We don't have time now to go through this interpretation of Jewish history. Trust me. If you don't trust me, call me. Then you'll trust me, okay? And I believe that since we are living in a very, very sad moment of our history, it's a destruction of the state of Israel we wanted to be. It's a destruction of Judaism in a liberated, free world we wanted to be. It's a destruction of 2,000 years of teaching that you shall not do to your friend what you hate to be done unto you. So the challenge is, what will come out of this destruction? Was something good or something bad? The jury is out and the potential is on us. And I believe something good will come, because at least this is what happened up until now for the last 3,500 years of Jewish history of repetitive destructions. And what do I have in mind what do I imagine when I speak about something good coming out of it? Yael and myself are sharing among us 13 and a half grandchildren. As for the half, we'll talk in some other time, okay? I mean, still waiting, but 13 and a half. The majority, half of them speak or spoke Arabic, and some of them going to the bilingual school in Jaffa. In each and every class, they teach every teaching in both languages, Hebrew and Arabic, having two teachers in the class, one Hebrew speaker, one Arab speaker, and this is how they grow up. One day we were babysitting them, and Yuval, that's the elder one of our son, came back home, and we interrogated him, tortured him. Yuval, what was in school? We didn't study much at school today. So we said, Yuval, what happened? He said, today, most of the day was about the birthday. So we said, who had a birthday? He said, we celebrated the birthday of Muhammad. And we said, wow, what did you bring him as a present? He said, no, Grandpa, no, not Muhammad that I play football with. It's the Muhammad who passed away many years ago. And I said to myself, holy gosh, no, I said holy Moses, okay, but holy gosh, my grandfather was the chief rabbi of Hebron. My father was ordained as an Orthodox rabbi in the rabbinical seminar in Berlin and was the head of the National Religious Party. And my grandson celebrates the birthday of Prophet Muhammad? That's an evolution. I mean, sorry, Darwin, but this is evolution. This is amazing. And what I believe is that from these kids who experience different sharing than the divisions imposed on us, they have the seeds for a potential different future. And the more obscure and dark the present is, the more shining the alternative is. And to end up with a place I've been here a couple of times during the apartheid time. And I visited the Jewish community, and not at all sure that most of them appreciated then my too progressive, too liberal ideas. I'm not at all sure, okay? And one of them was Mendel Kaplan. And Mendel one day told me, Avram, you don't understand. If there is no solution, there is no question. And I said, wow, apartheid, there is no solution, there is no problem, no solution, no question. And today I say to him, late Mendel Kaplan, and I said to all of these people, there are questions and there are answers. And the day is not far in which you will all say, but we were also all time long, since day one, we were JDI. I promise you, everybody in the Jewish community was against apartheid. I remember, I was here. No answer, no question, and all of a sudden everybody is Albi Sachs, okay? Everybody is a struggler, everybody is a Haran Sussman. A day will come and everybody in the Jewish community will be JDI. Why? Because it is not us defending democracy. It's democracy who guards us. Their kind of Judaism cannot contain liberalism, equality, acceptance, tolerance, patience, perseverance. Our kind of democracy can contain them all. And therefore, the dangerous idea of containing democracy, which is celebrating humanity, celebrating justice and equality, this is the one that eventually is dangerous today, but will be the strategy of the majority the day after. Thank you very much.
Wow. Imagine if Avram was the chief rabbi. That was magnificent. Thank you. Thank you. I just, before we go to the floor, I wanted to ask you a question that we asked at the Shabbat table last night, and you said, I'm not going to answer it now, you can ask me tomorrow, which is, are you a Zionist?
You really want an answer? The question of are you a Zionist is the best question to label you. And we love labeling people because it makes life so easy. Okay, I put a label on you, then I put you in this box and that box, and then I put the box in the boydom and I forget about you, okay? So labeling people is very, very easy. If you're a Zionist, I have to deal with you. You're not a Zionist, you're an enemy, you're post-Zionist, you're anti-Zionist. What are you? And I say it is such an obsolete question. Why is it an obsolete question? Zionism was the movement that enabled the Jewish people to reconstruct itself from exilic regime to a sovereign regime. Zionism was the scaffolding for the restructuring and rebuilding. It was impossible to move from 2,000 years of spread around regime into a self-centered sovereignty in one place. So you needed scaffolding for the rebuild and redesign. In 1948, the restructuring was done miraculously and moving for the Jewish people, very, very tragic for the Palestinians. At that day, Zionism ended. You can remove the scaffolding. We have a new structure. It is called the State of Israel. the state of Israel, unlike thousands of speeches that I gave in my time, and unlike millions of speeches given daily by so many people, the state of Israel is not the state of the Jewish people. The state of Israel is the state of the Israelis. You might like it, like somebody in New Orleans, like French cheese, and therefore he's a Chobevei France, he's a French Zion, what is it? Frenchieism, whatever it is, or Irish in Boston, like Ireland, or whatever it is, that's fine. But Italy belongs to the Italians, France belongs to the Frenchies, and Israel belongs to the Israelis, and them only. And Israelis are 80% Jews and 20% non-Jews, and every individual in Israel should be equal to every other individual, with no other definers for discrimination. Now, you ask me, what is your idea? I said, listen, I have three names. My family name, I'm part of the family of humans. I'm part of the universal humanity. I'm a human being. My middle name is, I'm an Israeli. And my private name, I'm an Israeli Jew, I'm an Israeli Muslim, I'm an Israeli Baha'i, I'm an Israeli Buddhist, I'm an Israeli idiot. That's the majority. I'm sorry. I'm part of it. This is me. I have three definers. Why do I need a fourth one? What does the Zionist label adds to the universality of my belonging to the human race, to my Jewishness, or to my Israeliness? Unless I need a fourth definer in order to discriminate somebody, in order to exclude somebody, in order to label somebody. So yes, I will say something which is not easy to hear. Within Israel today, using the term Zionism is racism. When they speak today about the construction of the next government and they say it should be a Zionist government, they mean no Arabs. In general, what is it if not discrimination based on ethnical and faith and political belonging? And therefore, when I'm asked, are you a Zionist or you're not a Zionist? Zionism for me ended in 48, and then began the challenge of building Israeliness. Israeliness that belongs to all the Israelis, like South Africa belongs to all South Africans. Despite the fact that the past, in spite of the traumas that the nation suffered, you work hard to make it possible. Sometimes, as said in the introduction, it's invisible and you take it for granted. But nothing is for granted. You have to work very hard to make it solid, to make it the way of life. And it's impossible to have the Israeli nation as the human factor of the state of Israel when you have an element, such a discriminatory element like Zionism, as a tool of discrimination. Am I Zionist? Maybe if I was born in 48, I would have been up until May 48. From there on, I'm an Israeli. Ask me.
Let me hand over to Cape Town. Do you have any questions in Cape Town? Can you hear me in Cape Town? Okay. Since Cape Town is being unusually reticent, Johannesburg. So, Terry, will you come up here? We have 8 minutes left because we need Barghouti dots. Start on time. So, he's getting short.
Hi, and thank you for a wonderful talk. My question is, when you talk about the better civilization that will arise, and when you talk about what will come after when everybody was a member of the JDI, what are you envisaging will give rise to that renewal? What is it that's going to happen before this renaissance occurs?
Here are the two Israelis walking towards each other in the streets of Tel Aviv. And one is holding two gigantic watermelons under his armpits. And the other one is asking him, do you know where's Herzl Street? So he said, well, you hold the watermelons for a second. So he takes the watermelon and he says, I don't know. Okay. Listen, I left politics in order to become a self-appointed intellectual. I'm not into your nitty-gritty realities, okay? What it takes, I mean, translate it. But, okay, since we did all the way here, so let's explore it for a second. I will say that the most important element is, sorry for using such a militaristic term, stick to your guns. Don't give up. Let me talk to you about the Talmud, okay? I don't know if you ever had the opportunity to study some Talmud. Talmud is the most important corpus of Jewish rabbinical creation. I've never seen in my life such a boring text. My goat ate your tomato, and your tomato threw my cucumber, and my cucumber hit the rabbi. So impossible cases that you don't understand why Jews study day in and day out, and they go to the yeshiva and they take the budget from the state. What's wrong with you Jews? Okay, so the Talmud is not about the cases. It's not about the legalities of this case and that case, etc. It's not even about sharpening your brain on the text. It is something else. You sit in the parliament, and there is a bill about people should not cross crossroads on red light. You vote for it. 2 are for red light, and 1 is against. So from now on, it's forbidden in South Africa to cross the street in red light. Nobody remembers the 1. 2 to 1, it's a majority, and that's it. The Talmud has a different philosophy. The Talmud documents the opinion and the philosophy and the school of thought of the minority, and makes you study majority and minority opinions alike. And why is that? And documents it through hundreds of years of studying process, because it's a book accumulated and compiled through hundreds of years. And the reason is very simple. The working assumption, the deep Jewish working assumption, or 2 deep Jewish working assumptions are: the first is as follows. You ask yourself, what is the common denominator between Jews? I, who invest my life into it, do not know even one definition who defines all the Jews who define themselves as Jewish. I've never find a definition like this. So this is in our generation. This is the horizontal one. Imagine the vertical one. What's in common between us and the past generation? Do you really want me to believe that when Moses ascended the Mount of Sinai, he climbed the mountain with a streimel? You really want me to believe that our forefathers in Babylon ate chunt? I mean, there is nothing in common. The concept of God, patrilineal or matrilineal, okay? The interpretation of the mitzvot, the interpretation of the text. Nothing is like it used to be. So there is hardly any definition that defines us all as one, and I hardly find it what is the common denominator between me and the previous links in the chain. There is one thing only that I can put on the table to say this is a common one, and this is the culture of disagreement. Okay? And the culture of disagreement is a very, very interesting one. On one hand, it's a civilization of polemics. Do you have an opinion? I don't agree with you. You agree with me? I have another opinion. Okay, and this is Hegelian philosophy. This is to say, you have a thesis, I have an antithesis. Why? Because both of us would like to give birth to the synthesis, which is the founding assumption for the next chapter. And then somebody else will come and challenge it. And then some new synthesis will promote the train onwards. So the first building block of Jewish civilization is the culture of disagreement. In order to have a qualitative disagreement, you have to respect the opinion of the minority and not the dominance and the authoritarian dictation of the majority. A society or civilization or a culture of majority only is a dead civilization. It's dead from within. And therefore, Jewish history and Jewish learning is about sanctifying the position of the minority, knowing that one day the energy in the engine of the majority strategy will end, will stop. And then you need some new one. I have already one. The minority one that I rejected yesterday is ready and offered to be the new strategy for the majority. And this is why one day the JDI minority will be the strategy of the majority. And then our responsibility will be like Abraham, our patriarch, Lech Lecha. Then we shall need a new avant-garde. Then we shall need a new JDI. And on and on and on and on. This is how you promote ideas. So don't give up. Keep fighting. Up to the moderators.
Hello, can you hear me? Irving, are you ready for a question from Cape Town? Irvin, hello. You hear me? Irvin, I'd like to ask our previous speaker. He gives a very interesting perspective of where we are and where we go. How many people think like you do in Israel and prepare to stand up and speak like that in order to go forward, or we just wait for a time when something is? And what is the position of the Jew who is not Israeli in this discussion?
Up until this morning, there was one who thinking like me. After listening to myself, I'm not at all sure that this one still agrees. I will say that as much as I really, and this is a serious allegation, I really do not count. I do not count quantities. I look for the content and the quality of the ideas, and I will say that there are many individuals, many molecules not yet fused into one political material. Many people who believe in equality and many people who believe it should be done but do not know how to do it. Many people who would love to move on but do not yet find the courage how to do it, etc., etc. The coming election is for sure about how to undo or how to topple the regime, the corrupt regime of Netanyahu. But underneath, there are many people from various walks of life who believe in segments of what I said here. I'm not at all sure that there is a full, comprehensive Torah of many people who believe in the entire Torah that are represented here, but I believe that segments of it and chapters of it and paragraphs of it, there are many people. And the political wisdom, which is not my responsibility anymore, is how to assemble people who agree to that and people who agree to that and people who agree to that, and to create such a patchwork which is a meaningful one that can promote some of the ideas onward. The second is the role of diaspora Jews. It's a very, very complicated question for me to answer, because I can tell you, listen, it's your problem. I mean, what do you want from me? I mean, unless you invite me to be a rabbi here, so maybe then I would, no, don't do it, please. Okay, but, and here it is. I believe I would like to leave you with a thought, okay? It is fine to be a fan. I mean, when you look at when you look now at the World Cup, I mean, somebody in South Africa supports Argentina. Somebody else in South Africa supports Spain or England or whatever it is. It is possible to live in one place and to be an enthusiast about something that happens in other places. I like the food in France, and I like the countryside of Italy, and I love riding in Austria, and does not make me an Austrian, does not make me Frenchy, does not make me an Italian, but yet I have some affiliation with the place, and it's okay for a Jew to have affiliation with the state of Israel, but it should be defined differently than it is defined today. When Israel is saying repeatedly, the state of Israel is the state of the Jewish people, it means that every synagogue is an outpost, and every individual in the Jewish world is a soldier in our fights, which you do not have any input to influence. If the state of Israel will continue with this philosophy that it can impose on you its policies, you have to find ways how to introduce your opinion when you do not like these policies, because otherwise it's a one-sided danger. The second is much more important from my point of view. What Zionism did, especially after 45, when the gates of the camps were opened, it actually took a movement, the Zionist movement, which was a tiny minority in the Jewish people up until the war, and make it the majority movement of the Jewish people. And by this, put aside and actually negated the entire diasporic philosophy, input, wisdom, and existential potential. And what is needed today, short-term, mid-term, and long-term, is reintroduction of diasporic Jewry is an alternative to the nationalistic one.
We won't be able to, sorry. Arafat Boothi is working in the wings. Thank you very much, and Avrum Burg will be speaking again tomorrow in Cape Town. So you'll hear more from him. Thank you very much indeed. And since we are running late, without any further ado, I'm going to hand over to my colleague Anton Harbour, who's going to chair the session between Azor Kachalia and Arafat Boothi. Can you bring them up?
The bench number one.